Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
What's up, everybody? It's Herschel Foran from High School Top 200, and I'd like to welcome you back to the Monday morning meeting. I am Herschel Foran. I run High School Top 200. If you're not on my socials, jump on all my socials, follow me on HS Top 200 on TikTok and Instagram, and then on Facebook, just High School Top 200. On YouTube, High School Top 200 as well, and please sign up for a subscription. It's a $5 a month subscription on hstop200.com. $5 subscription per month, and you get all the rankings and all the write-ups that I do weekly, and then just keep up to date. Even though the season's coming to an end, I'm gonna start writing about the finals, the top four, things like that, different concepts and ideas, also about players that are coming back next year. So all the year 12s and stuff like that, we'll have an early look at guys that are coming back, some of the year 11s, also those that'll be at the under 15 nationals, and also if I can get more footage of like Hurricanes and South Island and under all the under 15 tournaments, also under 16 tournaments, I'll be talking about some of those players too. So still keep up to date, still jump on the website hstop200.com, and so just keep up to date. I'll still be talking about it into Condors and even into next year. There's always stuff on First 15 Rugby. There's always a lot of stuff that I like talking about too. Sorry about last week. I was sick all of last week. Couldn't even talk. Well, I could talk, but every 3 seconds I was in a coughing fit, so I don't think anyone would want to listen to that. Migraines, fever, all that kind of stuff. Just in a really bad way. Couldn't really concentrate on anything, trying to read small letters and all that kind of stuff, and just got really wasted. Too much fever. Couldn't even go to the games. I was still trying to be a tough guy and go to the finals, at the CNI finals, and then my daughter told me, "Dad, you're not that tough. Stay home. We're gonna crash, or we won't even make it, or we're gonna make other people sick if we get to the park," and all that kind of stuff. So I decided maybe I should just be a bit more smarter and keep away and not get anybody else sick. So finally I can talk. Finally I can put something together, at least try and make something interesting out of all this, because we are down to the finals. We are down to the last, we're down to the semi-finals soon, which was real cool. So going to the game I went to on Saturday was the Rotorua boys one. I went to Rotorua boys in Hamilton, and I think my thoughts. I'll share with my first thoughts, and my first thoughts is always that when it comes to top four. The Chiefs region have the most titles out of every other region. The Chiefs region, to me, has the hardest route to go through, pretty much because of Hamilton boys and how dominant they've been over the past 20 years or so. How many times have they been to the top four? How many times have they been to the finals? How many times have they won national titles? And if it's not them, then it's Rotorua boys, and if it's not Rotorua boys, it's Wesley. And even last year was one of those years that, in all honesty, it should have been Tauranga boys and Nelson College in the finals. And Tauranga boys, to me, was probably the best team in the country. And it doesn't really matter how or where I rank someone. All of that is opinion based, and you still have to take the field and still play the games, right? And Tauranga just messed up with Rotorua, and Rotorua beat them last year, then Hamilton beat Rotorua, and all these things that happen, and it's just the way that it is. And so, like, when I came into thinking about this, I always thought about, well, okay, this is probably the hardest route you could probably go. Hamilton may be not the best, like, Hamilton may not be the Hamilton that we're really sort of used to. Rotorua is in a real good run right now, even though they lost the Super 8 finals. Even just making the finals is a hard thing to do. And, you know, even them losing, it wasn't like they got smoked, or, you know, it was such a close game. It was such a good finish to the way that, you know, the things ended. Even though they lost the Moeska Cup, you know, and even it just got passed on again to Feilding from the CNI competition. But I started looking at the fact that, and sort of asking questions about Rotorua and how they were going to sort of get out of this one. I thought Rotorua was the better team, but there is always this kind of fear sometimes, or nervousness that Rotorua have whenever they play Hamilton boys. And it's not like something that's unjustified, it's like 100% justified, because they've always had to go through Hamilton boys. And Hamilton boys has not been the easiest team to beat in the last 20 years. And so I was kind of thinking, is this going to be the time where Rotorua have a better team? Rotorua have better players? Rotorua probably are the more organized team, coming in with the best vibes and feeling into this, but will it actually translate to the field when they kick off the ball? And for the most part, my thoughts were Rotorua will have the better team and they should win, but I have this feeling that they won't. And I was almost right, you know, like, and anyone that was at the park, that was at Hamilton Boys, looking at the scoreline of 33-5 or 32-5 or whatever it was, early in the second half, even like the Rotorua fans that had travelled, even the drummers lost a bit of, you know, pep in their flipping bang, and, you know, they weren't banging so loud with the drums, and fans and parents, and they started having conversations about other things, and, you know, sort of having that kind of well, we made it this far, well, you know, like, you can't win them all, that kind of conversation, you know, thing. And then just a little bit of crawlback, you know, it's just a crawlback of how Rotorua boys came back, just one after the other thing, you know. Chiariki Rogers scoring a try, Arthur Pip got a try, which was kind of like an easy one. Tawaru Waititi, he scored a try in the corner. Things like that, like what's his name? Hunter Weaver getting that big break. And like there were all these like little things that happened, from turnovers to big hits to extra drives, extra effort in the rucks, pushing more past contact, things like that I thought Rotorua were doing better. And then because even when Hamilton boys always do this thing, is that going into halftime they want to try and score right on halftime. Then right into the kickoff, they want to score again straight after halftime and have that 14-point buffer, 12-point buffer, whatever it is that they end up getting. But they always do that kind of situation, and they actually got it. And when it was that 33-5 situation, Hamilton boys actually shut down. Hamilton boys pretty much finished the game at that point. And they were quiet, they weren't talking, they weren't boosting each other up. Even like after a try, there was no like real pep talk amongst each other. You would see like Alex Arnold calling everybody in, but when they were approaching the kickoff, none of them were calling assignments like they usually do. None of them were talking about 3 phases ahead like they usually do. No one was talking about picking up guys and their assignments, past the contact of the ball, all that kind of stuff that I'm used to hearing from Hamilton boys. There was nothing there. After one try, after the next try, after the next try, they just weren't talking about it. They just weren't communicating about it. And I wasn't sure from the sideline if that was just like I wasn't sure if that was like an arrogance thing. I wasn't sure if this was like we'll be all right. Like, I'm sure the time will run out. When you think, 30 points is enough to be ahead, that a team won't catch up. All those kind of things, or that false safety and comfort that you have in the scoreboard, and that you kind of think, oh yeah, we've got 25 minutes left, that's fine. And Hamilton boys just stopped scoring. The Hamilton boys stopped wanting to score, letting in weak tries. Like Arthur Pep was really pushing that. He was really taking up that space around the rucks. Wasn't giving the ball out. He was just kind of taking those open lanes, and all those little runs at a time would always get Jasper Dobson an extra, foot on there when he would take the ball up. Or Bronson will get an extra run. Cody Renata had a really good game. Jake Hutchins, probably one of his best games that I've seen. Same thing with Tiaraki. Like, they all had really good games. Even like Heike Magavi as well. When he was taking up the ball, he was finding more open space with the pass rather than taking it himself. Which, like, most of the time when you see him run, he runs himself. It was almost like he was running with a different agenda, being more direct to the line and to the defense, and taking that direct path and then looking for the opportunity. And then there was always like something out there. That's why Issy was getting more ball, Tiaki was getting finding some space, things like that. Like, they just had those kind of extra opportunities out there. And even when Tyler came in and scored his try as well, like, you kind of thought, like, man, this is really turned around. And Hamilton boys don't even look like they're panicking when they probably should have been panicking. They probably were, but it just didn't look like they were. And Liam had like a really mean game pretty much the whole time. Alex was probably the best guy on the park for them. Maxwell had some good flashes here and there. Ollie was the same, different flashes here and there. Nathan did a couple of good things. Cullen had a pretty quiet game. He had a good run here and there. But Rotorua just never gave up. And the more they started scoring, the more Hamilton boys was going to sleep. And I've never seen that before. This is probably the best game Rotorua has ever had against Hamilton boys, because of the situation, because of the scoreline, because of you know, the situation that was there, like the whole year that they've had. I mean, it must have brought back a lot, you know. Maybe just a little bit more, you know, comfort that even though they lost the Moeska Cup in the Super 8 finals, but to beat Hamilton boys the way that they did, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they were, you know, they got a little bit of joy back from that. But strange game from Hamilton boys, pretty mean game from Rotorua, and, you know, they're moving on to the next one, and I think they play Wesley next up in Auckland. I think if I go up to Auckland, it's a 12 o'clock game, and it depends too, because it depends what the Westlake King's College game, what time that is, whether it's a 12 o'clock game or 2:30 game. But if it's a 2:30 game, then I'll go and watch Rotorua Wesley first before I go up and watch Westlake Kings. But yeah.
Chase time!
Congrats to Rotorua, and yeah, we'll see what happens in that next one. See what happens in the next one with Wesley, because that'll be a pretty massive game too. I think the other game that I really liked as well was that that Southland Christschurch boys game, and I'll post it up. Oh my gosh, who did it? Who live streamed the game 2 weeks in a row? Pit TV, I think it was, something like that. I don't want to. Let me see if I can find it really quick, because, you know, live streaming a game is not easy. You know, it's not an easy thing to do, and so like, I think any chance that, you know, I guess any company has, you know, to put on to live stream a game. Is it called the Pits TV? Pits Media. Pits Media is the one. Real cool. So thank Pits Media for doing all that, and you know, bringing on those, you know, live streaming the game, because it's not easy. But they've had two really good games in a row. Two really good competition games, and I was thinking when this came into, I was thinking, like, I always have this thing where I think of like the game that they had to set up to get to where they were, and looking at the finals where Christ just didn't show up to the finals, and Southland boys had King's High School where they had to just grind out another win. And it's the second one against King's High School that they had to really fight to get to the end. I think, like, I have a feeling that preparation for the game had something to do with it, whereas, you know, really rainy, muddy, but, you know, how it was scored at the end of it, 30-something, 40-something, I don't know. But it was just so big that it was just like, how much did that preparation really help Christchurch boys? Because if it was on the other end, I'd rather be Southland boys and have this really hard game grinded out. Still keep that intensity high, take that intensity high from the King's High School game. Have that intensity celebration. Take it into training for the next week and then come out and then go, let's hold this up there and we'll go up against Christschurch Boys High School and you know, really put it to them. And obviously I was going with Christchurch Boys because just on my rankings, how the rankings, I thought, oh yeah, I'll go with them, and I thought, well, they'll probably win this game. The matchups that I thought were great were the Cam Jones and Zeke Hammond-Ciolo, and what I liked about it was that both guys could actually make New Zealand secondary schools this year. And like I've talked about it before, where we have legitimate wingers. Like most times when New Zealand secondary schools is selected, they usually go, well, who are the second fives and the centres that didn't make it? How about we just still select them and then we'll put them into wingers? This is the first time where I actually think that this year we have legitimate wingers, and these two are part of those legitimate wingers, where Zeke and Cam both had the opportunity to go up against each other. Cam is a more nippy, you know, quick off his feet. He'll break tackles pretty much by beating you to the point of like his attack, and he's so quick in and out of space that he's just hard to grab. Where Zeke is like, his timing for hitting the ball on the mark to evading tacklers just by being big and tall and big fanned. Legs are too big to grab. You got to hit him with so much force if you actually wanted to flip him fall off something. And so those two things mixed into it to the point where, to me, it was just a really good battle. Zeke came away with 2 tries. Cam came away with 1. But even then, like, they were both made to work pretty hard. And so, like, that was like one of the better matchups that I really liked from this game. And I think the other one was Hiro Fuchigami and Cohen Arere. The 2 halfbacks were the other ones too, because I liked that both teams played with so much patience. They played with like a really good security of the ball. No one was panicking. No one was trying to overdo what they've done throughout the whole year. Having that ball control, great security, good setups with your next oncoming runners, and Cohen and Hiro were both that kind of. They were just directing it so well, and Cohen got a couple of turnovers and got his hands in there a bit, disrupted the ruck a bit, which I really liked, especially when it comes from a halfback and you're sort of going up against some of the big boys who can't get you out of the way. Hiro was also doing his thing where he really spotted some of those weaknesses around the edge of the rucks, and he would just take them on and sort of push that pace. And, you know, having someone like Jonty or Sione Telefoni there, you know, guys like that. Frano had a big game. Mac had a good game. Blake Robinson, I thought, had like a pretty average game from what he's really used to. But in terms of carrying the ball and, you know, all that kind of stuff, like, I thought that forward pack being led around by Hiro was probably a really good, one of the best things that I like seeing, because they did it on both sides of the game, where Southland would go through like 15 to 20 phases of just ball control, security, setting up these nice rucks, you know, finding some open space, sealing, you know, getting over the ball, sealing off the ball, starting again, getting the forwards back into it. You know, like Lucas Alessi, I don't know if you could follow how many times he carried the ball, but meters he made. Like, he had a massive day. Presley, who usually has a really good game, scrummed really well. Didn't really see him much around the field, but Jack McKee, Mason always has a good game. Elliot Wilson had a pretty mean game. So did Josh as well. All those guys were just real mean to watch, and I thought it was like a real cool way of showing how to control pace and control and like keeping down that anxiety to go to sort of skip too far ahead of your pace. And the best player on the field to me was just Jimmy Taylor. He was just so good. He was so good. And then having like Finn Hurley and Caleb Harvey, Jack Brock was another one. Just, they were just so good. And Jimmy Taylor's just like, I hope he makes New Zealand secondary schools. I hope he does, and I hope that they like. I think that they should. I hope that they pick the three. I hope they pick Alapati. I hope that they pick Jamie, and I hope that they pick Jimmy, and they put all three of them in there, and they can. I mean, Jimmy Taylor to me can play fullback as well. All really good first fives. Putty can double up as a second five if needed, but I hope all three of them make it in, because I just think that they're all just really, really good players and, deserve to have some kind of a spot. Even Lucas Salesa, I hope that he gets a New Zealand selection. Just like Ezekiel, I hope that he does too. I think Jonty Leary might be there next year as a New Zealand selection as an open side. And then would probably see Casey Heath, William Brown. He'll probably be another one. Even Franco Chaplin will probably be in New Zealand secondary school. I actually reckon Franco might make it next year as a year 12. He's just such a good player, and even in this game, he doesn't seem to make dumb young mistakes that most of them you sort of see, But for year 11, to me, he did massive. And people don't understand that. You got Franco Chaplin, you've got Casey Heath, and William Brown all starting year 11s in this Christchurch boys side, and then you've got Sonny Bill McAndrew, who's also year 11 on the bench too. And then you got a bunch of year 12s that are also in there that we'll probably see next year too. But this Christchurch team is such a young team. And I think that they've sort of outdone themselves of where the expectation was, and they just got better over this whole year. And just losing to Southland boys is not a bad thing. Those young players, it will be bad for those guys who will finish, but those guys coming back has just been one of those things that you have to learn from. And it's going to be cool to see Southland boys up at the top four again. Had a bit of a year rest and coming back again. But I thought that they did, it was just a really good game to watch. The patience from both teams was really good. I like the fact that they none of them were panicking. It was such a really good thing to see out of young players that usually panic. Even the defense from both sides, I thought was really, really good. I thought it was really good, and it became a moment of brilliance for certain players that would push that score out to making sure that there was another try scored was because of just brilliance. De La Hoya was the same. Was just the way that he ducked in and out of sort of spots, and then finding some opening out of the outside edge, stuff like that. I thought was great. Even when Christchurch boys had the ball, and then looking at like the defensive side of things, like Blake Robinson was making so many big, heavy tackles, but then even on the other side, you had Elliot Wilson who got two real key turnovers on like momentum ball, and like that had nothing to do with Christschurch like losing control of it. It was just like one of those moments where a really good player saw that opportunity, took it, made the right decision, and then he ended up having like a key turnover at the point of where Christchurch boys was building something. And like it was always getting to that point where I like, well, this is 11 phases in. Southland boys better do something, because there's going to be a lazy defender who's not going to move across, who's not going to shift across, who's not going to make that read because he's tired, he's trying to get into position, things like that. And then someone like Elliot Wilson will come through and get that turnover, or Mason Coulthard will make a big heavy tackle, or like even like Corbin Kidder was, even him coming into the game and like having like a really big run or really big clean out or really fighting, like all that kind of stuff I thought was great to watch. And like it was cool to see Southland and at home in front of like a really good crowd show their crowd exactly how good these guys can be, and that they deserve to go to the top 4. And like I'm going to post the game out so that everyone else can see it too, because I just thought it was one of those just like so many classic games even this week, like I think it was just one of those things, like it just felt like it was like a classic week this week of games, because like even when like when I was watching the Hastings game, it was like, here's the thing about Hastings, right? Hastings have probably one of the best forward packs as a whole. Obviously, it's led by Israeli and also JJ. Obviously, someone with like Panapa at number 8, who's like, as a year 12, is just making some really big moves as a number 8. And even someone like Eli Southwick as well. To me and in my mind, they just have one of the best forward packs as a whole. And all the season, they've kind of proven the fact that it was like, we will set everything off in our forwards, and then when Tana or Triumph or Panapa, Lambert like in the back line, getting Rafe the ball, making sure that Tiariki Joseph has like clean ball, lots of time, lots of space, all that kind of stuff. The forward pack is there. You always have like guys like Lachlan or Nehemiah, having really good ball going towards the line, making big hits and big runs, all that kind of stuff. But watching this game was probably one of the worst games that I've seen from Hastings boys. And I feel like some of those tries were not like fluke tries, but they were such easy tries that they made it look so hard. Hastings boys actually looked really tired, really wasted, lethargic. There was no energy, there was no pep, there was no fire in their game. Even when like JJ had a massive game with some really big runs, but it never led on to like anything else. Like Israeli's probably weakest game this year, where he was really quiet. He wasn't getting the runs that he usually gets. Nehemiah always gets, Laval always gets like a really big run or two. He wasn't really firing. Eli always has like a really good game in the air. Always does a lot of hard work. Will get a break here or there. Panapa and JJ probably had the best game in the forwards, and everyone else was kind of average. The backline was kind of average. Triumph to me didn't do much. Tano kind of didn't do that much either. And they grinded out this win. I mean, even Carter did as much as he could, I guess. Along with Rafe, they just looked sad, and it looked tiring and looked not lazy, but it just looked like they had no energy, almost like the season has gotten to them. And I honestly thought Silverstream was the better team. Silverstream looked like the team that was attacking. They looked like the aggressive team. They even Elijah Solomona and Manu, Kingston Hill, even before Kingston Hill I think got injured, went off. Kitiona and Ryder were like really good at lock. Vaitupu, who's a year 11 prop, really showed out, and he was playing a really good game. Like, they just looked like the more energetic team. They looked like the ones that wanted it. They looked like, even though they just won their finals a week before, they looked like they were ready to go. Axel and Fletcher were great. Fletcher Cooper again had a really good game. Abraham Smith to me is still the most underrated player that has been out this year. William Davis Lenz did his thing that he usually does, but like, I was just not keen, and maybe because I've seen Hastings so much this year, live as well as watching them online, that it was strange to see a Hastings team perform like the way that they performed. Now, that's great that they won, and obviously that's what you want at the end. I'm just like thinking, I'm thinking from the senses like, do you have a training run, or do you have a walkthrough trainings? I mean, you've been through this whole season. You should know your game plan. You should know they all should be match ready fit in terms of like fitness. But maybe the contact should be laid off this week, and it should be more psychological thing, because it just didn't look great out there. They just didn't look like they were the firing kind of team that they were like ready to come out and rumble. And they had like these 7-minute spurts of like good game, showing what they could do. But in the end, it was just like, it was almost like they had to score within those moments, that they had these good 7-minute moments. But then if they didn't score, then they were going to be in trouble. And that's kind of what happened, to the point where Silverstream missed the kick. Fletcher missed 2 kicks, a drop kick and all that kind of stuff towards the end, and it just looked like Hastings, the players were just so exhausted. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it is just exhaustion. Maybe it is like at the end of their rope in terms of how this year has gone. But they won, and you guys have to front up to Feilding. And I think for everybody, the goal is, we want to be national championships. I don't want to be 1A championship. I don't want to be 1B championship. I don't want to just be the Super A championship. I don't want to just be the South Island championship. I want to be the national championship team. And Hastings right now just didn't look like that, even though they won their game and they did what mattered, was score the first try. I was like, you guys still got another real important game to go through to even just get to the top 4. And remember, Feilding's coming back in their second year and they want to go back again. They got the Moeska Cup and they want to try and keep it. Hastings are going to want to try and get their Moeska Cup. They want to represent the Hurricanes and they want to try and win nationals. That's what the hunt for new motivation should be. Now, whether they have it in them or not, I'm not too sure, and I don't really know. But from what I could tell, they just didn't look like the Hastings side that I've seen all year. They didn't look like the key guys in that team. They just looked too tired. They just looked like it was just, they've just got into a point where they're just hitting the wall at the end of the season. But the season's not actually over. You know, and I think Essie's played every single game. He started every single game. Nehemiah's the same, started every single game. I think Eli's the same, started every single game. And it's just, it might just be getting to them. But reality is like, well, if you want to keep going for this national title that you guys have wanted to win, you're going to have to just pick yourself up somehow. And I kind of feel sorry for Silverstream in a way that they look like the aggressive team. They look like the team that was trying to get their win. But it just didn't happen for them. You know, it just wasn't their day. Even though they looked like the better team, they played like they were the better team, but it just wasn't their day. Kind of sad, but that's just kind of what sports is. You know, and Hastings boys lucky to get out of it, but you still got next week. You know, you still want to beat Feilding, you still want to get that Moeska Cup, and you still want to get onto the national top 4 and, you know, win a national title. Hard one to sort of, you know, come to grips with, kind of thing. And I mean, like, even Palmy boys, you know, them going against Feilding, and like this is like a local battle kind of thing, and like they, you know, they've already played this year. And Palmy won. And so it was like interesting to see, you know, it was interesting to see them again. Interesting to see I guess what they thought might happen again, because it's like not a, it's like a hard thing to, I think it's like a hard thing to play a team again that you already beat, that you know you can beat, and try and get that same result. Especially to like a cross-rival team, especially to like a team where you like know all the other boys, where you probably go to the same parties together, played in the same rep team since you're under 14, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so, and then knowing that you beat them early on in the season and just go, oh, we can do this again, it's fine. You know, we're Super 8 national champions, we're Super 8 champions. We've got this Moeska Cup that we haven't had for a while. You know, first or second time that we've won Super 8, all that kind of stuff, and we're at a big year. We've got probably the best number 10 in the country, and Jamie, and then you got, you know, Hunter at fullback, who is probably looking at a New Zealand secondary school selection as well. I would like argue that probably Tame Langi Langi is probably a New Zealand secondary school product, and you could probably chuck Alex, Palazzo in there, especially after the game that he had today on Saturday. I thought that he was massive. Like those kickoff situations, they were massive, and then having him go up against Rupeni, who to me Rupeni had just a massive game. He was just such a good player. From even like carrying the ball to distributing to running as a dummy to work around the rucks, putting his head in there, cleaning out rucks. A few times where he stood off where I thought he should have went in and helped. But I mean, like those kind of things are just you get better at, and I think it's easy to say from someone who's just watching the game to a guy who's in it that has to make the split decisions, all that kind of stuff. But I thought that Rupeni was probably the best on the day, but Alex also had a massive game as well, and I think he was probably about time that he had a big massive game and show what he could really do. And again, I still think Alex Palazzo is a 6 and not an 8, and if he does get a New Zealand selection call-up, or even like a Barbarians one, he's not Māori, I know he's American, but I hope that they pick him up as a 6 and take that responsibility of carrying the ball, have him just go out there hitting players, fighting for that ruck position, things like that, and just have him play a whole different role that is more to his suiting. So but this game for Palmy was probably hard, setting the table again of what this actually was, and not being too positive that, hey, we've done this again before, we can do it again. We had them quite a bit in the first game, and the second game should be pretty much easy. What I didn't see though, I thought Hunter Kennedy had a really good game. I think that his battle with Penny Javier was really solid, and to me, Penny outplayed him, but I still think Hunter was out there creating. This is the first time that I've seen Jamie Viljoen not be his effective self. And I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to, whatever. This is probably his worst game that I've seen him play this year. And everyone is entitled to, even the superstars like what Jamie is entitled to a bad game. It just sucks that it had to be this one. Because he's been pretty much perfect throughout this whole year. And the reason why they won the Super 8, is because his gameplay, his ability to play make, be aggressive, be no hesitation at all. But Saturday just wasn't that day, Nehemiah Sua didn't. He was kind of hidden as well, where he wasn't usually making those big runs that he usually makes. And even though I thought the forward pack was really, really solid, it kind of just didn't work when it went past 9. Henry Speedy got the ball out and then just felt flat. It didn't feel like the normal Palmy team that you're used to from this year. And it wasn't like it was just one guy's fault. It was like, it just felt like none of those guys in the back line had any kind of I can't say desire, because that's not it. But the things that usually work for them just weren't working for them. But I mean, like Kisione was having a mean game, Viliami was having a mean game, Alex was the same. Ollie Reid, for someone that's year 11, Ollie Reid gets into a lot of scuffles for a guy that's year 11. And it kind of reminds me of Shea Clark in that way. with Shay Clark, even as like a young guy, like year 10, he was trying to scuffle with like all the big fellas, like all the older guys as a year 10, year 11. And Ollie Reed's kind of like that. And so I'm guessing like if Ollie Reed turns out like Shay Clark, it's like there's a pretty good person to turn out like. But every time I've seen Ollie play, he's always like into like some mix into some like, you know, rah-rah tough guy stuff. But even like Flynn and TJ, they all had good games. Tommy had a good game too. Like the forwards were fine. But once Rupini had the ball and I think because of like Alani just doing all that hard grind, Tavita had like so many runs. He did so much work. I was like actually really, really impressed with his game on Saturday and the way he just kept doing the hard stuff, kept getting into it, and yeah, I just thought man, this guy Tavita's done so much work in setting up. Him and Lucas were the same in terms of like just the grind out that they did, and then Alani was there, and then obviously you had like Joseph and Rupini. But these guys set it up and made it possible for them to get to that point. And then once Rupini got the ball, once, you know, like, I guess Tyrese and them found them out, picked them off in that back line. Once the ball got to James, and it's funny too, because like James, like Rupini and Penny Javier, to me, were like some key guys in the way that ball moved. And even when Penny had the ball and he would step into space, show the ball, kind of have everyone stop for that split second, and then he'll find James Tuitaba either coming off the inside or outside. Even like Nixon Foreman had like a pretty solid game today as well. And they just let the ball fly, and you know, I just thought, far out, this is pretty mean, the way that they're doing this and the way that they're letting the ball get out there, and they were just finding these open gaps in that Palmy backline, and it was just like they had no answer for it. They just had no answer for it, and then Feilding just made it look so easy in the end, you know. It was just like that kind of thing. And I did feel for Palmy boys because of the season that they're having, because of the team that they've got, and just by how strong they've been all season, you know, to have it end like this. But I mean, like, you know, it's just the way that it is, really. It's just the way that sports works. And Feilding High School came through with the CNI representation and showed that they could, you know, muscle up against, you know, the bigger teams, even within the area. Like, people don't know how close Feilding and Palmy are and how much these boys all know each other. It's just, you know, that region, that Manawatu is just a special place this year for, like, talents in that area. And they'll Feilding have to just go up against Hastings boys and try and replicate the same, and hopefully have the same kind of luck. And if I was Feilding, I'd go, I hope that if I was Feilding, I'd hope that Hastings team from Saturday turns up, because that's the tired Hastings that we want to go against. You know, we want to hold on to this Moeska Cup. We want to go into the top 4. Like, you know, that's just the mentality should be there for those kind of accomplishments. And so we'll see. I haven't been sent the Kings and St. Kennegans. But I don't even know if I'll get sent the game, because I don't know, like, it's not like they could set up their own VOs to like record the games, and I don't know how they're locking down on people recording the game, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. But if I get a hold of the game, then that'll be cool because I get to watch it. But next week I'll be up, or this week I'll be up in Auckland, hopefully to watch a Wesley Rotorua boys game, and then a Westlake and Kings. But yeah. Anyways, this has been way too long. I didn't think it was going to be this long. I say that all the time, but it just works out that way. Anyways, I'm Herschel Fruin for High School Top 200. Love you all. Later, ball.